Let's talk about over the years how we've worked together and kind of a case study. So, Karl, we've worked long enough together that sometimes we have clients that we introduce you to. Sometimes you have clients that you introduce to us. Over the years, it's just symbiotic. It goes both ways.
I agree. Here again, at one point, I thought I wanted to do design build. I don't.
Yeah.
I was never going to be any good at it. But I think what we do together, we're able to form the team where you do what you do very well, and I do what I do very well. I've seen a lot of design build firms that they may do one of them well.
Yeah.
But rarely do you see where they sort of have both sides. So I think this gives us the best possible outcome.
It is. I really enjoy doing it with you. Like, we talk about design build. We have a design build process, but we're not the designer. We bring an architect in.
Right.
And so that's what, we bring you in as one of those architects oftentimes. So let's talk about two recent events. So one, the Marshall Fire, right? Together, you probably, for us, we brought clients to you that probably 10, somewhere in that ballpark.
It's got to be close.
Yeah. And we walked through with those clients from the very beginning. Okay, what did you have? What do you need? How do we afford this with the insurance process? And it was really a struggle, but a lot of our clients have said about you early on that you helped smooth the process, that you helped capture what they wanted to go after. So I think kudos to you in this process. So.
Well, sometimes I think we have to act like as much the psychologist as the designer.
Absolutely.
I mean, trying to get that from them, and that was painful. I mean, you and I sat and cried with those people.
We did.
More than
once.
Yeah. But so it's so satisfying though to see that at the end, where, I mean, even some of your clients have said, I'm crazy, but I think I'm halfway back.
In the process. They're in the process of healing and grieving. In that Marshall Fire, we met individually. You met with hundreds of homeowners. I met with 150 different families who lost their fire. Trying to be like, as a community, we don't know what the right steps are. How do we rebuild?
Right.
I mean,
and I think that is one of the things that you guys certainly helped a lot of these people with, is sort of navigating the insurance stuff. It was complicated. I mean, we sat with all those people, and I still, to this day, I think I've learned a lot about insurance, and I still don't get it.
Absolutely. I feel that way about the insurance too. It's a complicated process. It's frustrating, but now we've completed 8, and of our Marshall Fire builds, and in the end, all these families are so grateful for the process that we took them through as a team, and to their home and their outcome. They're just it's been an honor to do it alongside you. So
thank you. I agree.
So it's been fun, painful but fun.
It was a wild ride. I worked harder in that year and a half than I've worked in a long time.
So let's go to and talk about the Sheehan project.
Oh.
That, for me, was one of the most enjoyable projects that I've got to be involved in. And for those who don't know, I'm usually just involved in the front side and not the building side. My brother takes over the building side of the business. But for us, tell us the journey of the Sheehans from your perspective.
I think that the really interesting part was that they were selling their home in the UK, and it was just a nightmare process for them to sell that. I mean, it was like, okay, we're going to close and we're going to be able to forge ahead, and then it's like, well, it didn't close, and this just happened again and again and again, but all through that time we were kind of working forward on design. And They, I think we ended up looking at a number of options, especially on the exterior, where they had radically different ideas, where they started with more of a farmhouse, and then they went kind of craftsman, and then they decided it was more of the modern prairie.
Prairie Modern, yes.
So, it was a nice journey, and they were willing to take it, but it's a Boulder County project, so the hoops to jump through can be daunting.
Yes.
Not so much there as on just a typical rural piece of property, but yeah, great people, just outstanding people, fun to work with.
Uh-huh.
And she always brought something good to eat.
Oh, I remember that. Oh. They were. So you introduced us to the Sheehans for the first time when we all were at the International Builder Show in Vegas one year. And at that time, they were still interviewing several builders. And you brought us in as somebody to consider for them. And we went to dinner that night, and it was just, it was so much fun. There's such great people to be around. And that's who we love to work for, is people who enjoy getting married through the build process.
Right.
Because it really is a relationship during that time. But that was so much fun. And I love the final outcome of what they went with that prairie design style, because you had to manage all the HOA guidelines, the roof pitch restrictions, the percentages of stone to stucco, the window details, and you put in this design. It's just, to me, I think it's one of my favorite.
I agree. I think it's one of the best projects that we've ever done together. And I think it's the clients that make it just that much better.
Yeah, it is. What's one of the interesting things about that project that you think that Built by Krueger may have done well?
I think helping them navigate the whole energy rating, mechanical systems, because it was sort of earlier in our ultra high efficiency mode. I think that's one of the things that you guys really helped in a big way. I think we always talk about bringing to the table the sort of the value engineering.
Yeah.
Where we can get a chance to back up a little bit every once in a while and say, hey, how can we do this better?
Yeah, or more cost effective.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. So the Sheehan house is a completely net zero house. It has geothermal, it has super high efficient windows, efficient insulation, and the solar. And, so it's effectively a net zero. One thing that when we build with clients, that net zero requirement doesn't mean you won't have an electrical bill still. That's one of the things that net zero is not necessarily a bill-free area.
Right. And we're trying to figure out what does that really mean?
Yeah. Because we don't control the rates of electricity.
Right.
And we don't control the rate of pay on the solar side that Excel is going to provide to our clients. So you have high energy gain in the summer and the sun, and in the winter you're using more electric and you're going to get bills. But I think that as the net zero evolves, I think it's going to get more efficient.
I know that now that they're using some of these, the Tesla power walls,
mm-hmm.
They seem to think that that's going to change how this usage happens. And the rebates on them right now are tremendous.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what happens after the election.
Yeah. I think there's some, with the power walls, we were able to do it at one of the homes in the enclave from the Marshall Fire. So this is a net zero home with the power walls. Post Marshall Fire, the clients or Excel decided to turn the power off for 3 days, they weren't affected.
Really?
Yeah. So that's something that, as you consider how our Boulder County utility provider may control power in windy situations more often, having a backup of some sort is, I think, something to really consider when you're building a custom home.
Yeah, and right now it seems like it makes all the sense to do it. I know we did houses back in probably 10 years ago or so that were doing the full off the grid. They had these giant battery packs. And I remember the guy that was living there called me one day and says, "Why are my utility bills $900 a month?"
Oh, no.
And he had spent a fortune on this whole
backup.
So it's a different world.
Yeah.
I think it's evolving quickly.
I mean, energy efficiency, energy storage, electricity management, all those things are going to help us build a better performing home and meet those objectives of net zero in the future. So I'm excited to see what happens. But so what's another project that we've collaborated on in the past that sticks out and that you remember?
I know the one we did out on Eldorado Springs Road or whatever.
Yeah.
It was a big remodel for some friends of mine that, I think it was challenging. I think it was a really great project. It's just, it was built, the addition work we were doing was on a house that had been built, I think, originally in the 50s.
Yeah.
And it had been added on to at least twice, I think.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
In varying levels of quality.
Yeah.
I remember things like, you think, well, there's a foundation there, and you start digging, and it's like, stop. We need to take a little pause here. And
I remember the project. When did you bring us in?
So probably the biggest challenge was you got to come in the middle. I think they'd had their original contractor was flailing. We hadn't brought them to the table, they had. And so I said, maybe it's time to cut bait. And so that's when we brought you on.
Yeah, because it did get very complex. And that's one thing that I know that on our major remodels, we have a lot of experience. We understand how to tie in the old, improve the old to be able to support the new and work together with the new house. That was a challenge because there were a couple things that we got to redo, but we got to redo it the right way. And so it's kind of like when we build, we like to build with purpose. And I remember the clients have a special needs son, and it's very important that he was able to stay in the home while we did this. And what was cool is we were actually building his own suite. And so it's so cool to see and have fun. And we built relationship with these clients. And so we got to add on the addition. They moved into the addition. Then we went and remodeled and added on to the other side of the house.
Right.
Because it was paramount that they're able to stay. Now, that's not recommended. It's very challenging to live through a construction time. But, we were able to do it, and it's a beautiful home. The architecture on the outside, the material selection, there's a lot of different things. The rooftop deck that captures the Flatiron views, what you put together just was another one of my highlight projects of our career. So
thank you. Here again, it's nice to have clients that are willing to go with the vision and willing to fund it.
Yeah, and there's something else that when I bring clients to Whitten Design that you and I will sit in those early design meetings and talk about conceptuals and layouts and views and ideas. And then sometimes the clients start getting in and grabbing the pen and starting to draw on your drawings. And you're very gracious. You're a very gracious individual. And there'll be ideas that are really horrible. And you've over the years, you're very gracious. And your family coined that term, but what is your saying to the clients that start interjecting too much into the details of the design? And if they do something, you tell them what?
Back off.
Back off.
I'm an artist.
No, what you do is you say, that's interesting. And I'm going to tell you that 2 times. And after that, it's your house. You own that design aspect.
Absolutely. We'll tell them how bad the idea is.
Yeah.
But then I will be quiet about that given subject. Probably most of our clients are of an age where they've lived in multiple homes, or a lot of them have done this before, built homes, and usually people will listen. But every once in a while, if they have something that is just super special to them, or they really see it that way, we'll go.
And that's you're able to hear them incorporate their vision, their project design requirements they want, and you're able to translate what they want into something that's buildable and beautiful. So we enjoy.
Well, and sometimes we just have to mold them a little bit. We sort of slowly drag them away from the edge